stablecoin economy. Okay, great, here it is. So actually the question is very simple. With the huge inflow of stablecoins, basically the stablecoin market is expected to grow from the current 300 billion to up to 2 to 3 or even 4 trillion in 3 to 5 years. The oversupply of stablecoins is going to compress native yields. The question is simple. Where can we find yields that can sustain the supply? The only capital pool or the only asset pool that can sustain such gigantic inflow of capital of supply is the real-world assets market, the traditional financial markets. The flywheel gets turning very easily. Transactions create balances, and balances create an imperative for yield, specifically for alternative yield sources. Therefore, the need for RWAs. This creates urgent opportunity for RWA integration. On this day, the market infrastructure is not there yet. However, as mentioned, the question that we're facing now is not if, but how. Adoption will be driven by 3 major factors. Sorry, this is not moving. Adoption is driven by 3 factors: when, who, and where. When, as I mentioned, is now, because the oversupply of stablecoins is going to compress native yields very quickly. Who? Basically, the next wave of adopters from traditional economy, including businesses and individuals who have started to adopt stablecoins, moving beyond speculation to utility. Where? Well, within the platforms that they already use, for example, payment interfaces, wallets, exchanges, and commercial platforms. The outcome would be a standardized shelf of real-world assets that are generating yields. This is not a temporary fluctuation. It is the structural outcome of success. As I mentioned, we foresee there to be a standardized shelf of RWAs for mainstream adoption. However, the RWA markets today is defined by a set of constraints instead of capabilities. We're facing a number of challenges that are stopping RWAs from being adopted by the mass. I'm going to talk about a few of those factors today, ranked by complexity. First, market infrastructure. Obviously, there's a lack of arbitrageurs that can operate seamlessly across both the traditional markets and the decentralized markets. And as projects building in this space, we are working on that. Secondly, collateral utility. Needless to say, currently on RWAs as lending collateral is still in its nascent stage. However, they need to move beyond the current static yield to be composable collateral for both trade and credit to gain real on-chain utility. Secondly, liquidity fragmentation. As we know, we have undermined the very core value proposition of a shared ledger. The current cross-chain reality segments liquidity instead of unifies it. Therefore, we need a superchain or cross-chain frictionless standard in order for RWAs to really scale. Fourth, capital efficiency. Many of the RWA products that we see today, unfortunately, still replicate the inefficiencies of their off-chain counterparts. The competitive frontiers lie in near instantaneous yield accrual as well as fostering active secondary markets. Fifth, but the most crucial factor, compliance. We do not want to talk about it, but compliance is the elephant in the room. Without scalable compliance, RWAs can simply not scale. The current status of regulatory arbitrage are not sustainable or scalable. We need a scalable compliance solution, i.e., a standardized, decentralized digital identity credential that can be verified seamlessly across protocols with proper access controls. This is the secret sauce that's really going to scale RWAs. Also, I want to talk about a common misconception. People are trying to establish the same use scenario for the same for all RWAs. However, be aware, not all RWAs are the same. For example, the stuff that we see most often on T-bills and money market funds, they simply do not look well because the yield is not enough to generate a positive carry in a lending protocol. However, private credit funds and bond funds are perfect targets for looping. And tokenized stocks is a different story. They're the best. Their best use case is on order book DEXs, or you can also loop them for leverage. So we need to really analyze the different trades of different RWAs or different tokenized stock and tokenized assets in order to make them fly in a DeFi world. And builders need to pay attention to them instead of using a uniform Lego set for different types of assets. Okay, so now we're to the future. I think all of you sitting here agree that financial assets are just book records on a ledger. Ultimately, their home should be on-chain. And it's not a distant hypothetical. We're getting there every day. With every step of the infrastructure that's being built, as I mentioned, we're getting closer to the finality where most of the financial assets are issued natively on-chain. So tokenization, in a way, would be a thing of the past, where everything is just a record on-chain that is immutable and with the utmost privacy. So we're building RWA infrastructure that is efficient, compliant, and scalable. The mandate is very clear. Now, in the RWA space, we're building the yield infrastructure for the stablecoin economy. We're moving from conceptualizing the future of on-chain finance to building its foundational layer. The demand is present, the path is defined, and the work must now begin. And actually, we are actively building it, and I believe many of the projects here today, as well as Solana, we're actively heading towards the future. Thank you.